When it comes to great British sitcoms of the 1990s, you don't hear "How Do You Want Me" mentioned all that often. This might seem strange at first because it stars the awesome Irish comic Dylan Moran in an essentially proto-Black Books type of role, where he can apply his rambling observational comedy stylings towards the weirdo population of the small village he finds himself living in. Moran's co-star in this venture is the lovely Charlotte Coleman, who sadly died of a massive asthma attack less than 2 years after this series wrapped, but up until then had been enjoying a great career from child actress in shows like Marmalade Atkins and Wurzel Gummidge, through to fondly remembered grown-up roles in Four Weddings and a Funeral and Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. So why isn't this series mentioned all that often? Well, I've blasted through all 12 episodes in the past few days, representing 2 seasons of 6 episodes each, and in such concentrated form, I think I can see the big picture. The first season of How Do You Want Me is, frankly, a total mess. From the opening strains of a harmonica, which feels more like we're in the deep south of the US, not somewhere in the home counties, and Moran doing a really uncharacteristically friendly smile in slow motion? Oh, bugger it, just let me show you. Yeah, from the moment I saw that, I was thinking, what on earth is this supposed to be? I mean, the premise is fine. Moran's character, Ian, has married Coleman's character, Lisa. They've tried living in London previously before they were married, but Lisa didn't like it, and so they've come back to Lisa's home village, surrounded by her family, to get married and live. Naturally, that means it's Ian's turn to feel out of place, and the comedy should flow from there. Except, it doesn't. While there's the odd funny line in the first season of the show, generally Moran muttering something slightly oddball, or perhaps some physical comedy in the photography studio that he's bought in the village, and which is where he tries to make a living, the show comes across as so serious so often, you wonder if it's meant to be a sitcom at all. I mean, there is genuine hate between most of Lisa's family and Ian, which is overplayed to a massive degree. Even her brother, played by Peter Serafinowicz, a character which I wouldn't say is even meant to hate Ian to the degree that Lisa's mother and father do, still beats Ian quite savagely in one episode. And it's not for laughs. He just beats him. And can I say, the relationship between Ian and Lisa feels so, well, forced is probably the wrong word, but it doesn't feel like a real relationship. Lisa, particularly, doesn't act in very realistic ways to the issues that Ian is being subjected to, and generally their relationship, what there is of it, constantly feels like it's on the rocks.
Look, I know people at the bank. Look at me. Your father withdrew £20,000 in cash and took it round to Ian, and he's agreed to leave you. I'm just sorry it had to be me to tell you.
No, you're not.
You sit there thinking, what part of this am I meant to be enjoying? Anyone? So basically, a town of really weird people, including Lisa's ex, who works with her at the local school, acting like a total stalker psycho, but she never calls him on it. One of our 2 leads constantly put upon and never allowed to get one back, which is incredibly frustrating to watch, and the other lead acting unrealistically. Everyone, frankly, seems depressed or angry or both in a sitcom. Are you starting to see the issues? Oh, and we haven't even got to the god-awful theme song at the end of each episode in the first season.
They can paint the blackest picture of you. They can hate everything that you do.
But the less said about that, perhaps the better. Oddly, the show got a second season, however, and this may surprise you, that even within the first episode, it's instantly a lot better. Visually, it looks great, and the direction and the camera work seems so much more inspired and interesting than the first season. Ian and Lisa vitally talk to each other like a real couple and actually seem happy in each other's company. Lisa's ex has dropped the whole weird stalker vibe thing like it was never a thing, and it's only mentioned, I think, briefly in one episode. Moran's still in slow motion during the opening credits, so you can't have everything, but at least the weird smiling thing has been changed to some different footage. Even the terrible closing credits theme music has changed. It's now just the Deep South harmonica refrain, which is used somewhat annoyingly throughout the whole series, but I guess you can't have everything. Indeed, I've got to say, for 4 of the 6 episodes in the second season, the series is a lot better. If the first season had been like this, and then the second series had been able to build on that, my review here might be quite a bit different. I'm not saying the show would suddenly be a super memorable thing, but it would be a lot better, no question. Unfortunately, in the last 2 episodes of the second season, it all starts falling back into being a bit of a mess. Lisa's sister's relationship with Lisa's ex becomes one of the most important plot lines, so basically a storyline that doesn't even involve either of the lead characters. And when we get to a montage in the final episode set to some sad music because Ian still can't fit into the village and wants Lisa to run away with him, even though we know that hasn't worked in the past, I was just wanting this thing to end. Mega fans of Moran might make it through to the second season and witness some of the better episodes of How Do You Want Me, but I'd be surprised if a casual viewer stuck with it that far. And that, dear viewer, is my take on why you've probably never heard of this series before. I'll be back next week, hopefully with something I enjoyed a lot more.